Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of LFMA Spot and Forward, where we carry on our political conversation from the perspective of finance. Today I'm delighted to welcome Yuriko Backes, Minister of Finance for Luxembourg. After celebrating together our 65th anniversary, Minister, it is a great pleasure to have you here again with LFMA.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure for me.
Let me start with the first question. You joined the cabinet in 2022. Can you tell us more about your main achievement in your current role as Minister of Finance?
Thank you very much. Yes, when I was asked to join the government was in January 2022. We were coming out of the pandemic, and 6 weeks later, war broke out in Europe with Russia's aggression against the Ukraine. So my time in government was really a time of crisis management. I would say we took a lot of measures to help the people living in Luxembourg and working in Luxembourg, but also companies get through very difficult times, especially companies also more exposed to high energy prices, but companies in general, because we need to stay competitive as an economy. So I think the 1 year and 9 months of my being in government have been really around crisis management. But of course, I've also taken a lot of time in the interest of our economy, in the interest of our financial center, to establish contacts also post-pandemic with actors in Europe and beyond that. I have been on multiple missions with Luxembourg for Finance, for example, to inform about the financial center and establish the contacts that are really necessary. For example, trips to Asia, be it Japan, be it Korea, be it Singapore, or to the US. I was in New York, I was in Canada, Toronto, to continue to build awareness about our financial center and all the benefits of Luxembourg Financial Center, with also the consequence that, for example, this week we inaugurate a Bank of America branch in Luxembourg, which is really something very positive for our financial center. I have listened a lot also to the stakeholders of our financial center to see where we can improve, and of course there are many areas we need to stay competitive. Our competition doesn't sleep, so we cannot sleep either. One issue that always comes up is talent attraction, talent retention. For me, it was very important, also in a very difficult budgetary context, to take measures to help in that sector. And for example, existing measures for talent attraction and talent retention, such as the Impatriate regime, and others have been improved in the budget 2023 to make us stay also competitive in that area. Other areas which for me also is very important, we need to stay ahead of the curve as far as legislation is concerned. So we have, for example, adopted in Parliament Blockchain 3. Under my predecessor, we passed laws Blockchains 1 and 2. I was able to pass Blockchain 3, which is very important. And modernizing our fund toolbox. We are still the biggest investment fund center in Europe, the second largest in the world after the US. So also there, we need to remain competitive, and I was very happy to be able to pass the fund legislation, modernized fund legislation through Parliament.
What is needed to maintain and develop the competitiveness of the financial center?
I think it's really a multitude of factors coming together. We have discussed talent attraction, talent retention. I think we really need to stay on top of legislation, make ourselves competitive via implementing EU directives, for example, in time when it makes sense. We always have to implement them in time, but sometimes it's good to be an early mover, and we need to really stay ahead of the curve with legislation. Another thing that I think is very important is to modernize and digitalize also our tax administrations, because they need to also constantly be in touch with so-called clients. And we need to stay well regulated. We need to be transparent. I think all of this speaks in favor of the Luxembourg Financial Center. And we need to continue to diversify, like the rest of the economy. Also within the financial center, continuously diversifying for me is something very important. For example, we have many banks who are also within their sectors diversifying their services. But for example, the fintech sector is something that has evolved also over the past years. They are no longer necessarily seen as disruptive, but are providing service to the more traditional actors in our financial center. So I think it's really an interplay of keeping our entire ecosystem competitive, well-regulated, transparent, and really ahead of the curve.
You know that for more than 65 years, LFMA is supporting its members, and by doing so, the entire financial center in the fields of training and education. What are, in your eyes, the main challenges for the financial sector to attract a young professional and develop the competencies of people in general?
First of all, I really want to congratulate LFMA for everything it has done in this field, because education is really of essence. And for the future, I think we need to continue to start very young. With financial education, we need to start very early, and this is also the view of the Democratic Party. We need to continue to develop these kind of skills and thinking from very young age in school, because this is also the only way really to have also women interested in this sector, because we know the financial center is still very man-dominated, male-dominated. We have fantastic women also today working in the financial sector, but I think we can do better if we start with financial education much earlier. Later on then also, I think we have a good setup for the sector to also work, and also the Ministry of Finance to work with our university. But I think there's more that can be done there. We have some master's programs now in the field also of sustainable finance. But here, I think we all together need to invest much more energy that we can also produce in Luxembourg the talents that are necessary for our financial center, because we talk a lot about talent attraction, talent retention. But if we can produce more also made in Luxembourg talents, I think this would be a great step forward. Our world is constantly changing with new technology, with artificial intelligence. So also the financial sector needs to keep up with technological innovation. And there a lot has been done already to invest in research, also for the financial sector, for example, with the University of Luxembourg and with the SNT, investing in research via a NICER program for, again, the fintech area. So these are ways to concretely progress if we also together continue to invest in research in the interest of our financial center.
What role should the financial center play in the green economy of today and of tomorrow?
I think the financial center needs to play a big role in greening our economies, and it already is. Today, the Luxembourg Financial Center is the fifth greenest financial center in the world. It's the second greenest in Europe. So we're not so bad. Quite to the contrary, we're pretty good. But of course, we should always be reaching further and reaching higher. So there's still a lot of work to be done. I think being a big international financial center, we can mobilize capital also in the right direction, really investing in a sustainable economy. From the Ministry of Finance, we are doing this and promoting this via multiple of ways. For example, working with the European Investment Bank, working with the International Finance Accelerator, ICFA. We have set up a fund of funds also to promote sustainability in emerging markets. So a lot is being done. What for me is very important is also to work on our transparency. And there we also have a very good setup in Luxembourg, for example, with LuxFlag, the labeling agency, for example, with the Green Exchange. We need to be transparent. It's extremely important to continue also to have the trust of investors. Trust is really of the essence, and that's what we need for our financial center. It's the way into the future. So I think there's a lot to be done for the financial sector to help promote sustainable investments. It has a key role to play, because I would say that the climate crisis is still the most existential crisis that our planet is facing. We need to continue to leverage also the financial center to finance the green transition. We have a very important role to play as an international financial center. We have a huge responsibility, and we need to live up to that responsibility.
What are the main risks for the Luxembourg Financial Center in the next 10 years? Are we well prepared?
We need to continuously work on being prepared. There are some aspects where I think we don't have direct control over, and other ones where we do have control over. For example, where we have less control over is the creeping international protectionism that we are seeing as a result of successive crises, and protectionism that we see in Asia, from transatlantic, but also in Europe, is never in the interest of economy, I would say, in general, but also not of open economies and international economies like the Luxembourg economy, including its financial sector. We are seeing fragmentation on an international level. We are also seeing in Europe tendencies towards constructing a fortress Europe. This cannot be in the interest of our financial center, and I have put a lot of effort and time into discussions also with European partners, with my homologues, to try to persuade them that this is really not the way forward, neither for European financial centers nor for the European economy. So these are some of the things I would be worried about on an international level that can have an impact on our financial center and on our economy. Also on a European level, besides the tendency that I described towards constructing a fortress Europe, we have to be very careful that some of the proposals coming from the European Commission are not detrimental to trans-border or cross-border financial services, because that would go against the very essence of the single market that we have. But we are seeing these tendencies, and I think we have to really make sure that we don't see developments going down this road. What we can influence more directly and in the favor of our financial center is the regulatory framework. We need to be well regulated, we need to be transparent, but we also need to make sure that we have the right and forward-looking laws in place in the interest of our financial center. And I mentioned, for example, the modernization of the fund law. That is one example, or the third blockchain law. These are some examples where how we, via legislation, can make sure that we stay competitive, which is very important. Also taxation. There are some initiatives or ideas by some political parties that are also being discussed in the context of the upcoming elections, that we should tax rich people more, we should tax companies more. And for the Democratic Party, this is not a way forward. We know very well that capital is very mobile today. It can be moved from one place to another, from one country to another very quickly by the press of a button. So if we want to also attract investments, if we want to attract good jobs, also high-paid jobs, we should be very careful about putting increasing tax burden on these kind of companies and on people. It would not be very good in the interest of also attracting talent, but attracting investments into our economy in the future. So I think for the Democratic Party, this is a very important point. We don't want to participate in a race to the bottom. And of course, on OECD level, with the minimum global taxation, rules are being put in place that we have very much supported from the beginning, because we want a global playing field. So these are issues where we can influence and make sure that also our financial center stays competitive, and we look towards the future to making sure that that happens and continues to be the case. The stability and predictability of Luxembourg, I think, is one of the main reasons why we have been very attractive to investors in the past. If we doubt this or put forward policies that make investors, potential investors, question this predictability and stability that we can offer in Luxembourg. I think it would be very detrimental to our financial center and for the Democratic Party. I can say that we will make sure, if we are in government, that this does not happen.
On that note, I would like to thank Yuriko Backes, Minister of Finance, for being part of this conversation and for all your endeavors for supporting the Luxembourg financial marketplace. And on behalf of LFMA, I wish you all the best in this particular time.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Vincenzo. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I hope that we will be able to collaborate further in the future.
Thank you.